At She Can, we tell women's stories. We show how women got to where they are today. It's easier to be what you can see. So I'm very excited to talk to Amy Schoenthal today. Amy, you are a USA Today best-selling author, journalist, speaker, and marketing consultant. And throughout your career, you worked with some of the world's largest brands, such as Procter& Gamble and Google, providing strategic marketing guidance and helping them shape their brand narratives. And your book, The Setback Cycle, is a really important book and it's been widely read. You've been very successful with it. And you show how today's most extraordinary founders and leaders persevere through setbacks. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to this point.
Oh my goodness. I got to this point after many decades of just being fascinated by the world's most prominent founders, leaders, innovators, and creative folks who I thought were doing the work to really take charge and solve society's biggest problems. I am a journalist by trade, by training. I went to journalism school and I have been doing some freelance writing throughout my career, also pivoting into marketing and spent most of my career as a marketing agency executive, now consultant. I run my own consultancy, Visionaries Collective.
Amy, so tell us a little bit more what you do on a day-to-day basis.
On a day-to-day basis, I am toggling between my many roles, which includes doing work for my clients. Those are generally executives and founders trying to either shape their own thought leadership and narrative within whatever industry they're in. I also do some fractional CMO work where I go into organizations and help them structure their marketing teams and set up processes and systems and staffing that really helps the organization deliver on their marketing goals. So at any given day, I'm toggling between meetings and podcast interviews because I'm also in the midst of promoting the Setback Cycle, which only came out 2 weeks ago. So that's still very fresh.
Oh.
And yeah, it's been a very exciting time. And then I'm also still doing plenty of freelance writing. I have an article coming out in a few weeks about tips for women on how to become better negotiators. So really everything falls under the umbrella of helping women leaders shape their stories and share their expertise with the world through my marketing role, my freelance writing, and even through the book and promoting the book and the stories of the people I included in the book.
Amy, and you have a great newsletter coming out, right? That talks little bit about all the different things that you do in your life. Tell us a little bit how you have a real thread, a narrative that's been, defining your life and your career. Tell us a little bit when you realized that that's where your strength lies, that you're interested in stories, helping other people with their stories.
I don't know that I realized it all at once. I think it slowly developed over time. I also, and this is what I counsel people if they're struggling to find their narrative and find their story, I think mine became more clear when I heard people speak about me or speak to me and share with me the ways where I impacted their life. And I started to see similarities between what my clients were saying about me and what the people I profiled for Forbes or Harvard Business Reviews said about me. And then, what people who I wrote in the book, what they were saying about me. So all the different, I don't know, a lot of people like to say women are multi-hyphenates. And so through all my hyphenates, I really started to see the same theme and pattern, and it all, sort of laddered up to my overall mission, which is to elevate the stories of women founders and leaders.
Amy, so tell us a little bit more about you writing this book. It's just come out 2 weeks ago. You had amazing reviews. Tell us a little bit more about that journey. When did you start writing it? When did you think, I have now interviewed enough people? I see a real thread. I want to write about it.
It took many years for me to realize that there was such a connective thread between all the stories I was seeing. But once you see something enough, you really start to explore it. And so that's really what I did. As soon as I noticed that through all of my interviews, everyone was saying that, they came up with their most innovative venture or their most creative idea after cycling through a setback. And I started reading books and thinking like, okay, who has researched this and who has really defined what going through a setback looks like. And I couldn't really find it anywhere. And when you can't find something somewhere, you end up kind of pulling pieces from different places. And then so I started doing that. And then once I realized I wanted to turn this into a book, which was the outcome of that process, I started doing interviews because that is what I do best, interview people and glean their expertise and then package it in a way that makes sense for the format that I'm writing in, whether it's an article, some sort of marketing collateral, or in this case, the book. And so I interviewed executive coaches and psychologists and a neuroscientist, all through the lens of how do people get through setbacks and why is this so transformative? And through all those conversations, that's really what allowed me to come up with the framework for the setback cycle.
Amy, so what is your main motivator going forwards? You're just published this book. This seems a real pinnacle, right? That seems to be a real turning point. You've got so much research, interviewed so many people to get to this point. What motivates you most now?
I really think the same thing that has always motivated me. And now I just have a bigger platform and more visibility with which to share those stories of underrepresented, underestimated, undervalued, and overlooked founders and leaders who, again, I really think are doing the work to solve society's biggest problems. So if those are the people I admire and I see how they are doing the work to come up with these solutions, then I think it's my role to tell their stories because that's something I'm good at and something I'm passionate about. And it's what connects all of my different, facets of my career. And I don't know, I think when you find the thing that merges your passion with your skill and it makes you happy and you can support your family on it, like you continue to just lean into that and do it more. And look, that's my mission right now. That's what I'm passionate about right now. That could change in a few years. And I am open to the flexibility and the, opportunities that may come along with the different seasons of my life and my career. So when you say what's next, I say more of the same, but bigger, and being open to new opportunities that, find that fall within whatever the blend of my passion and my strengths are.
Thank you, Amy. So, what do you think are your top qualities that make you so good at what you do?
I think I'm a good listener, and I think that I see people's strengths sometimes more clearly than they see it themselves. And I have other people in my life who do that for me. I also am good at listening to people's stories and distilling it into the written form, which is not necessarily something that comes naturally to everyone. That's actually why so many of my clients hire me for ghostwriting and thought leadership, because they'll say things and they are so smart and some of them are just brilliant, but they say things and they just like go really fast. And I take their words and their brilliance and I make it, I format it for LinkedIn or an op-ed in, the New York Times or an op-ed in Fast Company or something like that. And so I just kind of take what I'm good at and I put it through the lens of whoever's brilliance I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah, I wish I had that. What top tips do you have for all of us on setbacks? That's really your thing. Give us your top tips on how to overcome our challenges.
One of the most surprising things in researching setbacks these past few years was how many people float into setbacks without even realizing it, by ignoring it, by pretending it's not happening. And so one of my top tips is do not ignore your discomfort. And if you think you are going through a setback, try to acknowledge it, try to acknowledge why it's happening, why it's impacting you so much. And without making too big of a change, try to see if you can tiptoe your way out of it. Try and see what else you can explore. If you're not getting something from one part of your life, see if you can get it somewhere else. Like if you're not feeling super engaged with your job or your work, see if you can explore your passion and your strength elsewhere. And you never know when that little exploration is going to end up being your lifeline or, your next big opportunity. So try not to stay in one lane, try to explore as many opportunities as possible. And don't, if you think you might want to do something one day is today. And if you keep that continuous exploration and that curiosity and really kind of like tuning into yourself and what your real needs are, you will be well equipped to handle your next setback.
Thank you so much. And of course, we would love to encourage everyone to go buy the book and read the book and learn so much more about it. Amy, so what are you most proud of to date?
I am most proud of my 5-year-old daughter because she is amazing and she is fierce and she knows who she is and she knows what she wants. And I just hope she never loses that. And so I want to continue to maintain that pride by encouraging her to maintain that spark, to never lose her confidence and to never, stop being vocal about what she needs, what she sees, and what she wants.
Amy, so tell us a little bit how your personal experience of challenges and setbacks has influenced this book or indeed your career.
When when I got pregnant, I was very worried that I would not be able to return to my marketing firm in the same capacity. And I did so much work to try to prevent that from happening. And lo and behold, when I returned from maternity leave after only 12 weeks, which was very, very short, two of my accounts were they were in a different spot and I was no longer encouraged to play a leadership role on them. And it was sort of left up to me to figure out what to do with my career, despite having spent the past few years building it up and creating a reputation and a book of business for myself. I was sort of bumped back down the mountain when I returned from maternity leave. I didn't really see it as a setback at the time because I still had my job and I still had what I felt were very supportive colleagues and I had fun, I had a good team. So I stayed and I worked through it. But what I realized in retrospect was that was my setback. That was me coming back to a situation that I had previously taken so much pride in and told, like, you're not really valued here anymore. And so I tried to put my energy into my passion projects, which was writing, which was starting to take on some freelance clients, smaller startups and entrepreneurs who couldn't afford the agency that I was with. And by doing that work, I formed my own LLC. I had a website, I had a invoicing system, like I had a whole consulting business up and running. So by the time I was perhaps unsurprisingly laid off, the more obvious career setback, I had done my exploration. I was ready. And 2 months after getting laid off, I had a full consulting business. I had won 2 big client contracts and I was very much back on track. And that's why I tell everyone to just continuously explore, to not put, all your eggs in one basket, to not get your identity tied up in your job, because you could be the best, smartest, most valuable worker and it could all go away. And so please continue your exploration because for me, my exploration was my lifeline.
Amy, I'm so grateful that you said that, and I'm so grateful I asked this question because it's not a usual one, because this is exactly what a story that so many women go through, right? And so it's really important
Right.
to be said. Amy, so what are your future plans? What's happening for you in the next year or two?
Well, I am now starting a program where I'm consulting people through their setbacks. I'm creating setback strategy sessions and trying to help people understand how their setback framed their story or shaped their story, and helping give them, kind of like a one-on-one coaching so that they can get the clarity that they need, because you can get a lot from reading the book, but I'm helping people sort of like work through the framework in a way that's just like a little bit more hands-on, giving them the guidance they need. And also, helping them, giving them connections to people I know so that they can, again, further that exploration and see what other opportunities might be available to them that they might not have otherwise seen without, the help of a guide, of a coach, of a mentor.
Amy, that sounds really exciting. I can't wait for that. Amy, so who are your role models? Who are the people that inspire and motivate you to keep going?
My mother and my grandmother and all the like all the women in my ancestry and my family, they overcame so many setbacks to get to where they were and to get me to where I am. There's no way I could have had the luxury of time and privilege to do something as bold as writing a book had the people in my family not worked as hard as they could to create those opportunities for future generations. So I feel like it's my responsibility to, seize all the opportunities available to me because they maybe didn't have those opportunities, but they worked hard to get, the foundation built so that I could.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you so much for talking to me today and for telling your inspiring story.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.